Today, we're going to look at why we really have seen the rise of what I'd characterize as institutional wallets. A lot of my clients are terrified of ledgers because they realize they're just one kidnapping away from being bankrupt. Somebody's going to kidnap them, demand that they type in their codes, surrender all the coins, and they're broke. Ledgers are like running a bank without a security guard. We talk about cryptos like be your own bank. Get your ledger, keep it there. But the fact of the matter is, you go back like 100 years and banks were getting robbed all the time. You want a better safeguard than that. You don't have to worry that you left your ledger behind and somebody stole millions of dollars off your ledger. So that's why we really have seen the rise of institutional wallets.
Somebody said, and I quote, "Most of the Cryptotech software sucks. I've tried many of them. My Excel spreadsheets are better." So what do you think?
I actually tried to do gain calculations for some individuals back a couple of years ago. And actually, by the time I hit the 10th trade, my spreadsheet completely fell apart. I had no idea what was happening. My brain was, I was about to have an aneurysm trying to figure out where my lots were. So I have a hard time with that. My Excel spreadsheets are better, probably because he has a naive understanding of what the tax law requires. Crypto-tax software sucks. Not necessarily, but I would say it's much more complicated than the average person understands. How much should I spend on gain calculation? Well, hey, look, I mean, you can get online services as cheap as like, I think Bitcoin.tax does like $30 for a year. However, they make it easy. They simply throw out lots of the transactions that they don't like transfers. So if you get one that's really much more sophisticated, you're going to pay more, 300 maybe, depends on how many transactions you have, how many exchanges you have. But it all comes down to user ability. And this is not a trivial bookkeeping activity. This is actually a sophisticated bookkeeping activity, calculating your gain. When we defend people in audits, the first thing we do is recalculate the gain. We have never met anybody who calculated the gain themselves and came up with an answer close to what the end result should be. All right. And when my staff, Ben and his team of incredible experienced analysts, they go through this. I mean, we document every correction annotation that we make so that we can defend it in an audit, which we've done very successfully. How much should you spend? You know, that the question really is, how much do you think at a gut feeling level you made in profit trading? Just gut feeling, I mean, like, did you make 1,000? Did you make $1 million? Let's narrow it down. I think maybe I made $20,000. All right, made $20,000 in profit. All right, so what's the taxes on $20,000? About a third of that, maybe $6,000, more or less $7,000. How much did you spend to defend $6,000? You could just go with your guess, all right? And you might not be too far off, but how much would you spend to be more accurate by calculating it exactly? What if you had a loss? What if instead of $20,000 gain, what if 2022 you had a loss? How much money do you want to spend calculating a loss? You don't want to spend much, all right? Especially if you have a net loss, you're limited to a $3,000 write-off, which is an $8,000 reduction in your taxes. You certainly don't want to spend more than $800 on the gain calculation. So, but on the other hand, if you made, as I have one client who made 60 million, well, you probably ought to spend a few $1,000s to get a pretty good calculation. But in the end, if you're a very small trader, I know a lot of small traders are extremely conscientious. Believe me, the IRS is only going after the big fish. I mean, honestly, let's say the big and the middle fish. So the bottom line is, if you try one of these services, there's a lot of great services out there. Some are easier than others. Depends on what you did. If the answers you get don't match what your gut feeling tells you, like you're in your gut, or heart, how you want to phrase it, you feel like I made between this number and that number. And if the answer in one of these services is not between those numbers, it's probably not you. It's probably them or how you use their service. I had one client, I mentioned the client made 60 million. He called me up, he'd used a service, and it came back and told him he had $120 million of gain. And he called me up and we talked. And I said, I asked, how much do you think you made? He goes, well, I don't know. I go, well, tell me, give me a range. He goes, I think I made between 40 and maybe $80 million. Now, this is a big example, but hey, just it's everybody's example. Just take some zeros off. And I said, well, it sounds to me like if we reported 60 million, you'd feel pretty comfortable with that. He goes, yeah, I probably would. And if we paid taxes on 60 million, you'd feel like you'd paid your fair share, right? Yeah, I would. So he hired us to do his gain calculation. We initially filed a return reporting $60 million because he came to me late in the season. We had to do the gain calculation. When our experts had finished doing the gain calculation, he has a lot of DeFi and stuff. You know what the final gain calculation was? 61 million. 61 million. His intuition, even with somebody making that much money, who, I mean, there's probably so many trades he did, he intuitively had a number that was dead on. All right. He hardly understood the tax laws and stuff, but he had a gut feeling. Your gut feeling is good. And I'm not making this stuff up. John Cordon, who is retired now from the IRS, who had been the head of the crypto compliance program at IRS, Large Business Individual International Organization. In an interview he did with Laura Shin on her Unchained podcast, he basically said, report what you think you believe. If you get audited, you'll probably do all right. And that's exactly what I'm saying. It's nothing new from me. Here's the head of crypto compliance, formerly, and he's saying the same thing.
So this is a public service announcement that I think, Mark Cuban, you should be a Cryptotech audit client. Mark Cuban lost, according to an article that I saw in DL News, Mark Cuban got hacked for $870,000 in crypto. According to this article, his MetaMask was basically, his MetaMask was drained. So he said he moved everything, all his remaining funds, to Coinbase custody. So Clinton, what do you think? I think we need $870,000 loss. That's something that surely is probably worth something to Mark Cuban.
Well, hey, I mean, this is a big concern. I mean, a lot of my clients are very nervous. I mean, we talk about cryptos like be your own bank, get your ledger, and keep it there. But the fact of the matter is, you go back like 100 years and banks were getting robbed all the time. And being your own banker, you want a better safeguard than that. I mean, you don't have to worry that you left your ledger behind and somebody stole millions of dollars off your ledger. So that's why we really have seen the rise of what I'd characterize as institutional wallets. Coinbase certainly offers one. There's other organizations like Casa, Fireblocks, and a few others that are creating institutional wallets which require they're basically multi-sig, require somebody to confirm that something's happening so that no one person can steal from you. The flip side of that is, these vehicles like MetaMask, that's not a vehicle for somebody to be moving just one sort of $870,000 of money on. That's really probably not an appropriate vehicle for him to be doing. He's got a lot of businesses. He's a smart man. Mastering the intricacies of MetaMask and avoiding scams is not a skill he's probably big on. He shouldn't be using these instruments. He should be having somebody else do it. Why can't he trust somebody else to do it? Because it's a single signature, wallet. He needs something like an institutional wallet. If we were as tax professionals, we have forensic accountants on crypto who can go in and analyze the hack, generate proof that the hack occurred. He should file a report with the FBI documenting what he did and identifying that there was a hack so we can document it. And on that basis, we can then take that $870,000 write-off and claim a investment loss deduction on Form 4684 Part B, which rolls over to his itemized A deduction. He have an $870,000 tax write-off. That would be our approach.
I feel pretty comfortable that he's probably itemizing and not taking the standard deduction. And I mean, I think at the end of the day, what this tells me is that if Mark Cuban, he's a very well-respected business person, and obviously back 20 years ago, he was really big during the Web 1.0 days and everything. Obviously, he is probably more comfortable with digital things than the average person in general. But to see that even he was scammed for $870,000, I mean, I think this opens a lot of eyes. It's not something to play around with. If you, as you said, Clinton, don't put all your funds in MetaMask. If you want to trade on Uniswap or using MetaMask, move the funds in and out, get out of it, verify every single thing that you click on. I mean, it's there's a lot of phishing, a lot of incentives for scams out there.
Well, it's very painful at that point because how do you, let's say you went to court, how do you prove that that was a scammer who took it, not you or your family member who took it? That's the challenge, and that's why you need to file a police report or particularly an FBI report in a timely manner. Which is be characteristic. If you really were robbed, you would file a timely police report. You would need to accompany it with hiring somebody who could do a forensic historical log in terms of what happened, where the things went, to show that it had nothing to do with you. And that would be your requirement. If you don't do that in a timely manner, trying to do it a year or two later when the IRS audits you will be problematic. We should definitely document it with the police. You should, if it's a big enough investment, you should spend money, and it's not cheap to get a forensic analysis. We had a guy who did a deep dive analysis. He had people came in and analyzed what happened to the coins. They documented that the coins are taken on a certain date, that they were moved to disparate wallets, none of them his own, and they tracked the theft. But that's the type of thing you need to do to document the theft, file a police report so that you can claim an adequate deduction. Ultimately, what do you get from a deduction? You basically get to recover, in a sense, a third of the loss.
The Clinton Donnelly Show, where we explore how taxation and regulations of cryptocurrencies affect your daily life as an investor. Clinton has a law degree in international financial regulation. He is an enrolled agent and certified as a cryptocurrency anti-financial crime specialist. He has clients in 71 countries. He is one of the top experts in crypto taxation in the US. This show is sponsored by Cryptotach.com, the income tax experts for US crypto investors. Are you frustrated with using online crypto tax services to calculate capital gains? Are you a high-frequency trader, DeFi, NFT, play-to-earn, or whale investor? Nothing is too complicated for the experts at Cryptotach.com. Are you frustrated that your accountant doesn't understand crypto taxes? Crypto Tax Audit uses a proven, bulletproof crypto tax return methodology to prepare a tax return that doesn't attract the attention of the IRS. Crypto Tax Audit also offers an exclusive audit defense membership service. It's like car insurance for your tax return. If your return gets selected for an audit of crypto reporting, they will defend you at no additional charge for the entire life of the audit. No one offers anything like audit defense membership. Go to Cryptotaxaudit.com to learn more and schedule a private tax consultation now. The opinions expressed in this show are not legal advice. Tax and regulations are complicated. Your situation is unique, so you should always consult a tax professional.